Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Rich Lewis, author, speaker, and centering prayer coach. Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Toronto, Canada, and I am with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
And in this episode, we welcome Rich Lewis. He is an author, speaker, and coach on centering prayer. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
So you're an author. You just have a new book coming out, Sitting with God. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's called Sitting with God, A Journey to Your True Self Through Centering Prayer. So it came out, it's just about 1 year old. It's amazing how fast time goes. So it came out last August in COVID, and here we are, I guess, hopefully coming out of COVID to some degree. So, and the book, I guess, really focuses on a couple things. One, it's what is centering prayer and how you do it. It also talks about how the practice has healed me and transformed me. And it was written in a very easy to read manner. It's not an academic book. It's just for everyday common people that want to try this practice and see how it can help them. So the chapters are short, and even within the chapters, there's a heading so you know what you're reading, and it's not very long. So those were some of the neat comments I got from some of the readers, is they liked the book because it was accessible, easy to read, vulnerable, sharing my story, and not an academic book.
Can you elaborate on centering prayer? Because I haven't ever heard that term.
Sure. So centering prayer has been around for about 50 years. It was created in the early 1970s by three Trappist monks, so three Catholic priests. They saw transcendental meditation happening, and they wanted something for the Christian community. So one of the monks, Father William Meninger, discovered the method of centering prayer, and I'll explain how you do it, in a old classic book called The Cloud of Unknowing. And then they began teaching it to priests and clergy, and really rolling it out to the public, to everybody. And then about 10 years later, in 1984, the website and the group called Contemplative Outreach was created, which is really the main centering prayer organization. So their website is contemplativeoutreach.org, and that's really the main centering prayer organization, with a ton of resources on centering prayer and different groups that practice in various states, as well as internationally, in various companies will place their information on that site as well. So that's just a little bit about how long it's been around and when it started, so the early 1970s. And then the practice itself is as simple as, you know, it may not be simple for many to sit in silence when you feel like you should be doing something, but centering prayer is you sit comfortably with your eyes closed, and then to begin your silent sit. So centering prayer is actually considered two things: meditation, so silent, wordless prayer, and a relationship with God. So to begin your centering prayer sit, you sit comfortably with your eyes closed. To begin your silent sit time, you introduce what we call a sacred word of one or two syllables. So that could be love, ocean, a color. It could be God, Jesus. You use that word, silently introduce it in your mind to begin your time. And the purpose is really just to open to the presence and actions of God within you. And then whenever you begin engaging your thoughts during your silent sit, and what I mean by that is thinking about all the things you did before your sit, or if you had a disagreement with someone, or you enjoyed something before the sit, and you're beginning, you're just thinking on that too much, you reintroduce the sacred word to bring you back to the present. And the purpose of your sit, of just to sit with God, not to sit with you and your thoughts, or even any planning or plotting of things you might want to do after your sit, or the grocery shopping, or the mall you're going to, or the movie theater afterwards. So when you engage your thoughts, you use that word to come back to the present moment, and then you let go of the word along with your thoughts. And you do that when needed during the duration of this time, however long you've chosen to sit. So that's how you do centering prayer.
That is difficult, though, for a lot of people. You're right. Yes, our minds are so busy. I just saw something calling about overthinking, and it always happens at the times you don't want it to. So, yeah.
But you know, people that get up like in the morning first thing and spend 10 or 15 minutes we'll say meditating, but I mean that would be the perfect time for that, because you got that quiet time. You're sitting there, you know, or before bed. Well, I guess anytime really, but I always think of get up first thing in the morning. You know, you're kind of calm. You're not going 100 directions yet. You know, it would be easier, I would think, or for me it would be.
I'm going to
No,
joke.
that's what I recommend. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to joke. I go, what universe are you in, Roy? And we wake up in the morning thinking of all the things you're going to do for the rest of the day.
I know, but you still get a little bit. You got a little bit of advantage in the morning when you first get up.
It's true.
I mean, that's what I recommend to people. So people will say, well, when should I do it? If for those that are new and want to try something like this, their first question is generally, you know, not how do you do it? And then when should I do it? So I do recommend make it the first thing you do to begin your day. And for me, that's what I do as well. So whether it's the weekday while I'm working or the weekend, it is the first thing I do to begin my day. And for me, it's just the best way to begin my day.
Well, I think it'd give you a better outlook for the day.
Right. It really just slows me down, calms me down, reconnects me to God, reconnects me to life. Because particularly on a Monday morning, I'm just by nature, I'm a nervous person. So Sunday night, or as I begin waking up on Monday, I'm thinking of work and all my emails and different things I need to do. So I need that Monday sit probably more so than I need the Tuesday, Wednesday through Friday sits.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question, if you don't mind asking. You said that there's the vulnerability that you wrote in this book. Would you mind sharing some of that with us and our audience?
Sure. So I just shared a lot of different stories of how it's healed and transformed me. In one case, I guess I was talking about when my father passed away. Recalling that center, because at that time, I guess now my sits are first thing in the morning, and then I do one right before lunch. At that time, I used to do my second sits at night. So I remember, so I talked about my second sit after my father had passed away, and I still remember this day. You know, he was in a VA home, and he passed away at the VA home, and I remember that whole day. And then I remember just going home and doing a sit, and I remember crying, and then coming back to my sacred word and crying and coming back. I don't remember how often I did that, but I remember going. It was like crying sacred word, crying sacred word, and then finally I didn't have any more tears. And then I just sat with God, and it was a little bit more calmer and peaceful. So that was one story, for example, that I shared in the book.
Yeah, you kind of needed those hands of comfort wrapped around you, right? Right.
So it was. I remember just being a very powerful sit, and I just completely let go and cried, did the sacred word, and then finally I didn't have. Maybe I was all dried out. And then just sat with God. Right.
That's true, though. I mean, and they say this, and I mean, I think it's also coming into women. I mean, I remember growing up, don't cry. What are you crying about? But men have been in our society, it's even worse for them to cry. So that vulnerability of letting yourself cry, I think, is really important. And they say that tears are important to shed. It's part of the anatomy of release. So thanks for sharing that, because I know that, like I said, a lot of men would say, well, I don't cry, you don't cry. But if it's not even just, I remember the first time I saw my dad cry when his mother passed away. But then I hadn't seen him cry until our dog got hit. And I thought, wow, you're crying. And here I was 19 years old and I hadn't seen him cry over a dog. And I enjoyed seeing that because it made him human, you know, if I can explain that properly.
Yeah.
Yep. It makes perfect sense. I think as I'm getting older, I find myself tearing during movies, during different scenes, which when I was younger, I didn't do. And I'm like, what's going on here? But then I'm like, you know what? That's a good thing. I'm relaxing and allowing myself to feel things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Totally. So it seems to me few years back, well, several years back, it seems like there's been a war on prayer in our country. But it seems like that's starting to turn now. that more people are going towards prayer. What's your opinion of that? From your experience?
I guess I would agree with that. I think more people, maybe particularly the epidemic, we began a year and a half ago or so, more and more people that are realizing the benefits of just meditation and silent prayer as well. So I think they're turning not only just to verbal prayer where we're talking, but I think they're realizing the benefits of silent prayer or mindfulness or meditation. And even companies, I think, are realizing that, and they're rolling out, maybe not necessarily prayer to their organization, but they're rolling out more of meditation or mindfulness type of activities in education because they're realizing how beneficial it is.
Yeah, a lot of them have, I can't think of the word, anyway, it's like a stress room. You can go in, it's dark, it's got music, it's got chairs. If you're stressed out, you can go in there to de-stress. And seems to be a huge trend nowadays. So for that very purpose.
No, I mean, that makes sense. And even I've been working from home for a year and a half, but I remember my company, I didn't take advantage of it, but they had a masseuse and you could because we had a lot of conference rooms so that you could actually have a massage during the workday and go back to your desk, which was funny. And I had the same reaction that you did, laughing. But no, I think companies are realizing kind of the benefits of things. So our company took it to that level as well.
No, I'm just sitting there. My reaction was, and you didn't take advantage of it? Oh my goodness, what company is it? I want.
I've never had a massage. I think I'm ticklish, so I get worried. But I've heard I'll probably be fine, but I'm worried I'd be laughing on the table instead of enjoying it. But that's probably not true.
No, I'm ticklish too. No, it's the most wonderful thing. I haven't gone many, many times. But when I have, trust me, my daughter got me a coupon and I went with my son actually. And I took my daughter with me and I just sat there going, what? It's over? It's over? It's like, don't stop.
It's fun. It's funny because it's probably back in the 90s. I was in construction. We were working in this internet company's office. And you go in there and they've got like the little breakfast area. And you go up there and they cook breakfast for you. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, so then they got air hockey tables. They got these punching bags and all this weird stuff around there. So I'm looking down, I'm going, what? I asked the guy, I said, hey, Robert, what's the deal here? What's all this stuff? Well, we have people here. So if we get, they fix us what we want to eat, so it makes us feel better. And then if we get stressed out, we can go play air hockey. If we really stress out, we can go punch the punching bag. Just all this stuff. And I'm sitting there going like, you have got to freaking be kidding me. Really? But but they say, well, we're under so much pressure because I'm sitting around watching a bunch of guys at desks on computers thinking, how much pressure are you really under? But that was their company philosophy, that they wanted the workers to be happy and, and they catered to them. And like you said, they had a quiet place too. And it's just different than the way I grew up. Let's just say that.
So as a coach, you were saying that you're coaching, you were saying pastors and such. So if you can just give us a little bit of an explanation as to your coaching services, that'd be great.
Sure. So, as I've offered them over the years, I've noticed I tend to get three different types of coaching clients. So I'll call coaching client one is someone brand new to centering prayer and doesn't think if they want someone to hold them accountable to begin a practice and get them going because they don't think maybe if they do it on their own, they're going to stick with it. So there's that type of person where they're new, they want help and they want someone to really hold them accountable to starting it, so that they feel like, this is a sustainable practice that they can get themselves going. And then I'll call client two is someone that's already been doing it, but they feel like they're missing something. They want to go deeper in their practice. They want to connect more to their true self. Who is that person? Who does God want me to be? How do I connect to that person? Is kind of client two. And then client three is priests and pastors, ministers that say, I need this, and I'm spending so much time taking care of my congregation and other people, and I'm not taking care of myself. So help me begin a practice and help me make sure I take care of myself. So that's what I've noticed as I've had various people reach out to me. They're falling into one of those three categories, which I think is fine. Maybe someday there'll be a fourth, but right now that's been the three categories.
You know, do ministers and priests and stuff, do they suffer from burnout?
Oh yeah, in fact, they definitely do. I mean, I guess one he said, "I want to be Pastor Burnout." He referred to himself as that. No, they definitely do, because they're being pulled in all different directions. I had one coaching client where she had children, and with COVID, she was at home. So not only was she pastoring and doing sermons and from home, she was also taking care of her children from home at the same time. I think the one child was like less than one-ish, and the other one was 4 or 5, and in the middle of school. So she was trying to be a pastor of a church. She was trying to take care of the children, and she was trying to go to school. The one child was old enough for school. So she was definitely being stretched, and her husband worked, and he had to leave the house in the morning and come back, in the evening. So she was definitely feeling stretched.
I would imagine too, because I've noticed something about pastors, that they have their support team, but their congregation all want to speak to the pastor. Like it's not the same for them to speak to one of their support people that are there specifically to remove the load. But the people are adamant that, no, I want to speak to my pastor. I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to him. It's almost like being really, they're almost like a celebrity in their own church.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is tough. You have to have boundaries, and you have to know, okay, I'm going to receive phone calls during certain times, and if the phone rings at 8 o'clock at night, you got to make a conscious decision. Am I going to answer it? So no, you really have to be disciplined in are you 24/7 or what are you? And then yes, and you're right. They need support too. You can't do it all. So you need, like, if there's people that need to be visited because they're sick, you really need visitation teams, and it's not the pastor visiting everyone that he or she can't. So you need teams of people helping the pastor where possible as well. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about these mega churches that got 2, 3, 4,000 members. Everybody's not going to be able to get to them.
No, not at all.
And I mean, you're talking about going in a bunch of different directions. I mean, that's like running a big corporation.
Yeah, I would imagine with mega churches, I think they just do a lot of groups. So they have tons of small groups, and you probably, that's where you get a lot of your community and maybe help and support with, depending upon what group you're in. Because you can't, the pastor of a church that large certainly can't be reaching out to everybody. It's not going to happen. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I knew one that tried, and it was just, they got to the point, I can't do this anymore. Just, but they still do their best, because in a sense too, that's their whole purpose, is to help others. And being an empath like that, it's very difficult to even pass that on. Oh, this person wants to talk to me, but I don't have time. Can you take it? And then that person on the other side will start to feel, well, he doesn't have time for me? No.
Right.
Be realistic here.
Yeah, but preparing the sermons,
Yes.
delivering the sermons, like you say, visiting people that are sick, the counseling people who are having issues, funerals. I mean, I think over a period of time, you would almost have to burn out.
You do. I mean, I think some churches then offer sabbaticals where the pastor or minister is off on break for 3 months or something. So some churches do offer sabbaticals, and then the person might do something on their sabbatical, but at least it's a break from that. They need a break. They hopefully they have a fairly decent vacation package as well, because they need to rest and recharge. Otherwise, they're not going to be use to anybody for the congregation and themselves.
Yeah.
Now, speaking to that, have you ever thought of that? I mean, I know we were just coming out of COVID, but actually creating some sort of retreat for the pastors and those being your number 3 client type of thing, where they can just get away for a couple of weeks and go through that.
I have not actually. So I've done, I guess the different things I've done obviously one-on-one work, and I've done some speaking. I guess most of my speaking is either some churches have centering prayer groups, so they invite me to speak, or some churches just want to, they have faith formation classes and they want just to learn centering prayer. And I've spoken in front of spiritual directors, and then added that topic of, self-care of yourself is something you need to do. But that's something I haven't, maybe I should put that on my list. I could even offer it via Zoom, where I'm offering something, group support for ministers or pastors, and we all get together, and it's small enough where everyone can talk and share. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
They've all got the common problems, right?
Right.
So,
And the common graces, they've got both together. So that's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not a bad, you might ought to write that down. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no. I am, well, actually, I've written, I guess, 2 forwards. So interestingly enough, I've written 2 forwards to 2 books that came out. And then I was asked to contribute to a book that will be coming out. I was asked to contribute a chapter on silence to a book that will be coming out in February of next year. So that's neat. And then I guess I've set my own goal of by June of next year, I'm going to begin writing my next book. I'm not sure what it will be yet, but I think I know there's a second book in me, and I know that since I did the first one, I can do it, and I can discipline myself on how to do it. And I think maybe some of the 2 forwards and then the chapter I've written were sort of getting me ready to know that, you can do this again.
Yeah. I mean,
That's true. The first one's always the hardest.
It was just a huge learning experience,
Exactly.
but it was a neat experience.
Yeah.
well,
And
now,
where can they find your book?
mhm.
Sure. It's on Amazon. So the best place is really, I guess, is Amazon, or if they come to my website, silenceteaches.com, they'll see the book on my website. They'll see kind of who's endorsed it and what people are saying about it. And then the links will take you over to Amazon. So the publisher has it on their site, Anam Books. But Amazon seems to be the main place where everybody buys books these days. It's on Barnes and Noble as well, Walmart, Target, and a lot of different places, but it is on my site and on Amazon where most people seem to go.
Perfect.
Okay.
And it's in paperback and Kindle.
Yeah, and silenceteaches.com is your website. For people who want to reach out to you, they can reach out to you there.
Yes, that's the best place to reach out to me. I have a free ebook on my site on centering prayer for those that subscribe. They'll get a free short ebook that talks about what is centering prayer, and it really, the beginning of each page is a question, and then it answers the question around centering prayer. And then my book's on my website for those that want to further explore. For those that want to invite me to, if they have a group that they want me to talk in front of, I have a page for that on my site. And then if they want to explore the idea of coaching, I have a coaching page on my site as well.
So I would imagine what you do too is everybody is so different that, I mean, I know that there's a lot of coaches that have programs. Do you have one, or do you prefer to really focus on each individual and how to guide them through this?
Exactly what you're saying. I don't have a program, because really the coaching is what do they need? So it's really responding to what does this person need, asking them questions and letting them tell me what they need help with, and then me asking a lot of questions and peeling the onion, so to speak, and getting to really help them. So no, it isn't a program, only because that probably won't help them. It's the only way to help them is what do they want help with, and how can I help them? And then I can listen to them and then just begin asking questions and then be quiet and listen.
Yeah, one
That is
size
so
doesn't
personal.
fit all.
Yeah, because everybody is very personal on that part of their life and how they do it. Absolutely. So this is very interesting. thank you so much for sharing all this.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. A lot of good questions. So no, I appreciate you having me on and asking me the questions about centering prayer and my book and coaching and how it might help people that might need coaching or want coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that will help people, because as long as you're willing to do it, right? Because we talk about that. It's worthwhile getting a coach. It's worthwhile investing in yourself if you're looking for that. So thank you. And this is very unique in that we haven't had anybody speaking to this. So thank you so much for sharing and explaining what this is all about.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. No, thank you very much.
It was really a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely.
The same.
Take care.
Take care.